Jeffrey Epstein is back in the conversation, and the Trump administration seems to have very mixed messaging on what exactly is going on. I'm Cameron Kasky with FYPod, and we're going to take a look at it. But first, I want to talk about the falling out between Trump and Musk continuing, because Musk seems to have introduced his own revenge political party. So he says to run candidates who are going to do something about the deficit and about unnecessary spending, but it seems pretty clear that he's doing this just to get revenge on his former friend. Let's take a look at what Trump has to say about this new revenge party.
Your reaction to Elon Musk starting a third party?
I think it's ridiculous to start a third party. We have a tremendous success with the Republican Party. The Democrats have lost their way, but it's always been a two-party system. And I think starting a third party just adds to confusion. It really seems to have been developed for two parties. Third parties have never worked. So he can have fun with it, but I think it's ridiculous.
I'm with him on the ridiculous thing, although it does seem like this new party might have the chance to get in the way of the Republicans a little bit in some elections that matter. It doesn't seem like he's going to be running I believe it's called the America Party. It doesn't seem like Elon's going to be trying to put an America Party candidate forward in 2028 for the next presidential election. But this could be a little bit of a spoiler for Republicans. It could take some votes away from them. But Trump is really not happy. The Trump-Elon falling out is only getting worse with time. I sort of thought that they were going to get back together pretty quickly, especially when Elon tweeted out about his regrets, about maybe popping off a little too hard on Trump. But now Trump is talking about sending Doge after Elon. Let's take a look at that.
That he's losing his EV mandate, and he's very upset about things, but he could lose a lot more than that. I can tell you right now. Hey, Elon can lose a lot more than that. I don't know. I think we'll have to take a look. He might have to put Doge on Elon.
That's his favorite line. We'll have to take a look.
Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible?
That Doge is a monster that might come back and eat Elon line does tell us a little bit about what might be happening, because famously, when Elon was dismantling the government with the help of a bunch of little Twinkie 20-year-old virgin dork losers, he was giving a lot of government contracts to his own companies, right? He was giving a lot to SpaceX. He was doing what he could to, while picking apart the government, make it work for just him. But now, if Trump goes in and has whatever is left of the DOGE, I don't really know how it works at this point. It really just seemed like Musk's little team of dorks. But if Trump goes in and undoes all of these contracts that Elon stripped from other people and gave to himself, and removes those contracts from Elon out of some sort of form of revenge of his own, that could somehow make Doge and its efforts even more redundant and inefficient, which you've almost got to hand it to them, seemed impossible. They might have very well outdone themselves, but Trump is having some issues with everybody everywhere. He said Netanyahu didn't know what the fuck he was doing, but then Netanyahu yesterday, nominated Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, so it seems like their relationship might be getting slightly better. I don't really know what's up with them, but that's been a weird, rocky one, mostly friendship, but occasionally maybe a little bit of upsetness. But Trump wants to put Doge on Elon, and the way Elon frames his falling out with Trump is that Elon has been upset about the fact that Trump is adding to the deficit, and that wasn't the agreement that they made. And the way the thing he seems to cut to the most when he's trying to explain why he and Elon had the falling out is the fact that Trump went in and messed with the EV mandate. Trump likes to frame the EV mandate as some crazy tyrannical thing that Biden did, where everybody was going to be forced to drive an electric car. And he likes to say that Elon is lashing out at him because he's going after that, and that Elon's gone a little crazy, which is totally true. But it's interesting. When Trump talks about the EV mandate, he likes to use this line, a line that goes over great with his audience, where he's like, I don't think you want an electric car. I don't want an electric car. But Trump literally shot a Tesla ad at the White House. He bought a Tesla, brought it to the White House, went on a little spin with Elon and was like, this is great. This is a great car. So going in now and saying who wants to drive an electric vehicle, it's like, well, quite recently you did, man. But that's just one of the strange things we're seeing with this. Another thing we're seeing is Epstein, the whole Epstein drama Epstein discourse is not going away. You know, famously, the first big crack we saw in the Musk-Trump bromance really came to a climax when Musk tweeted out, Trump is on the Epstein list. That was when the whole world froze and we were all like, holy shit, what the fuck is happening? And we all kind of knew he was on the Epstein list. We all figured that there were some pretty high-level Democrats who I won't call out by name, but you know who I'm talking about, that were also on the list. And we had just sort of culturally accepted the fact that, yeah, you know, a lot of the elite people in power in this country, a good number of them were probably doing pretty malicious, unforgivably terrible stuff on Jeffrey Epstein's island. And it seems like we all kind of moved on beyond that in a way that was sort of really weird. The conspiracy theorists certainly didn't. The anti-Semitic conspiracy theorists certainly didn't. But, you know, a lot of people were like, yeah, Trump and a bunch of those other guys were probably on Epstein Island doing the most disgusting things that somebody could do. But now Trump's administration magically doesn't seem to have the Epstein files. They say that the Epstein files don't exist. They also released the footage of outside of Epstein's cell the day that he committed suicide. Oddly enough, and this isn't me being a tinfoil hat wearer, it just behooves me to point out that there was a minute missing from the footage. I don't know why. It's just kind of interesting that they released all the proof except for 1 minute of proof, but whatever. I'm not saying that that means anything. But Epstein's back, baby. And Trump kind of campaigned promising that he was going to release the Epstein files. And it's very interesting to see how they are reacting to that. Trump seems very upset about the fact that people are talking about it, even though he was the one who brought it up the most during campaign season. Let's look at his response when somebody was asking him about it at the White House today.
He did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the set?
Yeah, sure. If
Pam, could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
We've already talked about the things the Trump administration has done to ensure that more disasters like Texas will happen when they went in after the National Weather Service. So him talking about the tragedy in Texas is obviously so disgusting because things like that are the direct results of his policies. But he's deflecting really hard on Epstein, which is so strange because it's not like some national tragedy is something that otherwise would have stopped him from talking about Epstein back when it was politically valuable to him. It's just now Elon Musk, one of his closest allies who had a lot of access to things in the government that he probably shouldn't have had access to, has said that he's on the Epstein files, and magically they've disappeared. But Attorney General Pam Bondi, one of the strangest and worst people in the Trump administration, not very long ago said not only that there were Epstein files, but they were on her desk.
DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
So if she had just said, like, I'm going to take a look at the Epstein files, and then Trump said there was no Epstein files, that would have been one thing. But she went on to say, they are sitting on my desk, which leads us to two questions. Were they actually sitting on their desk? Or was she just straight up lying? I truly don't know the answer because straight up lying is definitely an inextricable part of this administration. Pam Bondi is not the least bit reputable a source, but also maybe Trump just saw that Elon put out that he was on the Epstein files. And I predicted this, by the way, either on this channel or on FY Pod for the Bulwark. I said that Trump was probably going to come out and just be like, yeah, I'm not on the Epstein files. Everybody stop talking about it. But the last thing I want to point out right now is that Elon is not the only former Trump friend that Trump is having some trouble in paradise with. He also said this about Putin today.
And a lot of people are dying, and it should end. And I don't know, we get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
Do you want to sanction him? Lindsey Graham has a sanctions bill on Russia. Do you want him to move
I'm looking
that?
at it, yeah. No, I'm looking. The Senate is passing and passed a very, very tough sanctions bill. Yeah, I'm looking at it.
And you'd sign that?
It's an optional bill. It's totally at my option. They passed it totally at my option, and to terminate totally at my option. And I'm looking at it very strongly.
Trump loves saying very strongly. I'm wondering how you look at something very strongly. I'm wondering how you, like, he's saying, is he reading the paper and bulging his eyes out very hard? I don't know, whatever. But let's look at the most important thing Trump has said amidst all this chaos and all these disasters that I think really speaks to where his priorities are at.
We also painted the room a nice color, beige color, and it's been really something. The only question is, will I gold leaf the corners? You could maybe tell me my cabinet could take a vote. You see the top line moldings, and the only question is, do you gold leaf it? Because you can't paint it. If you paint it, it won't look good because they've never found a paint that looks like gold. You see that in the Oval Office.
All right, we're about half past the hour here. This is America Reports. We have been watching this cabinet meeting happening live as Caroline
Fox
Levitt
obviously has to cut away from this because when Trump starts rambling, they don't want to reveal how out of it he is. I got to say, I don't know if there's anyone who looks less happy to be in any of these situations than Marco Rubio. He doesn't act on his discontent. He has continued to be the angel of death, cutting U.S. aid and directly leading to countless people dying. He doesn't mind it, but he's not good at looking happy. So many people in Trump world are able to wear a big, fake, crazy smile, but Rubio is just pouting the whole time, and I would be too. Although I would also just leave and have something resembling principles, or maybe I'm just idealistic. Everybody with FY Pod, I'm Cameron Kasky. Thanks so much for watching.